Hey mama, are you feeling overwhelmed? Like no matter how hard you try, you're still not the mom you know you were meant to be? I get it, and I'm here to tell you you were designed for more, and together we can get you there. Welcome to the Nature to Nurture podcast. I'm Tiffany, an early childhood specialist, advocate, and mom on this journey with you. I've spent years supporting families and working with children in those critical first 5 years of life, where every moment counts. But here's the thing. The same caregiving practices that help 0 to 5-year-olds thrive are the very same practices that help us, as adults, live purposeful, connected, and thriving lives. It all begins with intention, mindfulness, and showing up for ourselves and our kids. In this podcast, I'll help you discover simple tips and practices for raising your little ones with intention and care, while also guiding you to become the caregiver that you've always wanted to be, the one that you dream of. Each week, I'll share stories from my own life, some practical strategies, and research-backed insights to help you slow down, reconnect, and find joy in the everyday moments. Whether it's creating a bit of time for unstructured play, setting up your nurturing routines, or taking care of yourself as you care for your kids. This is the place for you. If you're ready to embrace the kind of motherhood that feels aligned with who you truly are, be sure to follow the podcast, leave a review, and join our supportive community. We are here to lift each other up every step of the way. All right, Mama, let's dive into today's episode. Hello all, welcome back to Nature to Nurture. I am very glad that you joined us today. We are wrapping up the gift series with what I think is the most precious gift of all, time. Now, if you're anything like me, your days are jam-packed with taking care of everyone else, right? Your kids, your family, your work, leaving little or no time for yourself. And if you've ever found yourself feeling drained, overwhelmed, or even resentful at times, then this episode is for you. I want to talk about how prioritizing yourself is not selfish. It really is necessary. Because if you are not filling up your own cup, how can you pour into others? In today's episode, I'm going to be sharing with you my own personal journey of how I carved out that time for myself, even when I really felt it was impossible. And I'm also going to share with you a little bit of research about how parental burnout and how modeling self-care are one of the greatest lessons that we can teach our kids. So by the end of this, I really hope that you are inspired and empowered to start creating your own special time. We're going to talk about some small actionable steps you can take, and then I'll leave you with 3 reflection questions at the end to help you get started. I want to start by sharing my own journey with this because, let me tell you, it's been a long and hard road. And actually, if I think back to it, this started before I even became an adult. I remember as a child having a hard time giving my own self that self-care, that self-love, that own time, right? So for years, I was known for filling every single second of my day with something productive. And still, every single second of my day is planned for. But what I have now is actually planned time to love myself. You see, I used to tell myself that every moment I had should be used to create something or serve someone else, right? And I know that sounds noble, but it left me exhausted, cranky, and honestly, lost. I used to blame my bad mood on not having enough me time. But the truth was, I wasn't making the effort to even create that time. So last year, I decided something had to change, and I started waking up an hour earlier than my kids. This wasn't to work. It was actually to pour into myself. Now my mornings look completely different. Each morning, I make myself a cup of coffee, and I sit outside to enjoy the fresh air. Sometimes I watercolor paint, sometimes I read, and yes, I do still squeeze in a power hour of work before the kids wake up, but I've learned that before I jump into that power hour, I have to give myself some time for me. That has to come first. And you know what happened? I stopped waking up frantic and rushing everyone through the morning and really throughout the whole day. Instead, I was able to wake my kiddos up with a smile. I was able to enjoy breakfast with them, and I was able to really set a peaceful, calm tone for the day. Another big change that I added was taking 6 hours of me time once a week while my kids are at their homeschool co-op. Oh my goodness, I didn't think I would ever do that. I didn't think I would ever have a day just for me where I could go and do what I wanted. I remember when I was in the preschool, these moms would have the day when their kiddos were in preschool and they would go up and get to go ski with their friends for a day. And I was like, oh my gosh, that must be nice. It is nice, but you have to plan it. You have to make the space for that to happen, right? So once a week, my kiddos go to this homeschool co-op. And during that time, I do not have work scheduled. I specifically have blocked it out so I have that day off. Sometimes I stay up in the mountains where I drop them off, and I go for a trail run, or I paint, read, or just relax. And sometimes I go home, relax, catch up on things that make me feel good, take a bath, without the pressure of being productive for anyone else. And it's not just these big chunks of time that matter, but it's also the little things, like my new obsession with press-on nails. Ever since I was a little girl, I've loved getting my nails done. I remember as a teenager and young adult, I started getting into putting the designs on my nails, and I loved it. But then came kids, and as I stepped into that mom role, I let that hobby fall aside. But now, I get to spend just 15 minutes a day, sometimes not every day, looking at a new set of nails and sharing those beautiful nails with my friends and my family. It feels like a small, joyful little gift to myself. Really, I was thinking about it. It feels like getting to eat a piece of chocolate, but without all of the mess, right? Now, here's the truth. The hardest part of prioritizing yourself is dealing with the guilt. Does this ring a bell? I used to feel selfish for taking time for myself when there was so much to do. My list was never ending, right? But I realized that if I don't take care of myself, I'm not showing up as my best self for my family. And honestly, I want to uncover this myth real quick. Self-care doesn't always have to be alone. Sometimes it means that you're making a yummy breakfast, sitting down and enjoying it with your family. Other times it might be that you get to go play out in the snow with them. Or even just, like I did last night, giving yourself permission to go to bed at 4 p.m. and let your partner take over the evening. Our bodies and our souls, they tell us what we need if we listen. For example, painting in the mornings was something that was consistently coming up for me throughout the day. Randomly, as I was going through my day, I would say, oh, I'd love to do some painting, but I never gave myself the time. And once I finally did, it was like my soul let out this huge sigh of relief. I was so filled with that little action of 10 minutes to do some watercolor painting. Now, for those of you that are a little intellectual like myself, I'm going to bring up a little bit of science that's behind this. Did you know that parental burnout is a real thing? Studies have shown that chronic stress, lack of self-care, and the constant demands of parenting can lead to mental and physical exhaustion. And when we are running on empty, we are more likely to snap at our kids, feel disconnected from our partners, and even struggle with our own health. But here's the good news. Self-care actually reverses all of those effects. Research shows that when you show up for 15 to 30 minutes a day for yourself, it can lower your stress levels, improve your mood, and help you to be more present for your family. And there's also the ripple effect, right? When we are prioritizing ourselves, our kids are watching. We're teaching them an important lesson, that it is okay. Not only that it is okay, It is necessary to take care of your own needs too. You know, in the airplane, they tell you put your mask on first before you put on someone else's. We want our children to grow up to be nurturers, that's true, but not at the expense of their own well-being. Modeling self-care shows them how they can create balance in their lives too. And remember, I told you, I started not giving myself time when I was a teenager. That's something that I learned. And it's something that I do not want my kiddos to learn, and I'm sure neither do you. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about how you can start reclaiming your time. Here are some simple, actionable steps that you can take. Number 1, start small. Commit to just 15 minutes a day for yourself. Maybe it's during your lunch break and you literally just go and you sit in your car and have 15 minutes that you're doing nothing, right? Maybe it's in the morning. It could be reading, journaling, a little bit of meditation, taking a walk outside, or simply enjoying your coffee in peace and quiet. And if you're like me with your Christmas tree up still, sitting next to the Christmas tree with the lights, so beautiful. Give yourself a little bit of time to start. 15 minutes you have. I know you do. The second step is to literally put it on your calendar. Block off this time in your planner and or your Google Calendar if you're doing it electronically as well, and treat it like an important appointment that you cannot miss. Number 3, honor that appointment. Show up for yourself. Even if it's tempting to skip it because you've got so much that you need to get done before 10 a.m., remember that this time is just as important as anything else on your to-do list. Because honestly, if you give yourself this time, you're going to be able to perform at a higher level and get more done. Number 4, if you're still having a hard time figuring out what you would do for your self-care, I encourage you to get creative. Self-care doesn't always have to be alone, remember? You can involve your family, like cooking a special meal at dinner time together, or just going on a walk outside. And number 5, find joy in the little things. Maybe it's going to be something little like painting your nails, or putting on your favorite podcast, or taking a bath. That's a great one. Find those small moments that really can bring you happiness. When I first started waking up early to give myself time, it was hard to get up early, and sometimes I did not get up with a whole hour of time for myself. But I did give myself at least enough time to sit down at my table, drink my coffee, and watch nature outside. And this connected me to my grandfather, the self-care he gave himself, and it gave me that little drip, drip, drip into my cup so that I was able to pour out. All right, now before we wrap up today, I want to leave you with 3 questions to reflect on. Number 1, what is one small act of self-care that brings you joy? And how can you incorporate that into your day or your week? Number 2, where in your schedule, write this down, mark it out, where in your schedule can you carve out 15 minutes of uninterrupted time for yourself? And number 3, what message do you want to model for your children about prioritizing themselves and their needs? I know that for myself, if I were to see my children doing what I was doing a few years ago, I would immediately take them out of whatever they were doing and have them go spend a month alone to just find themselves, to be with themselves, to take care of themselves, because it's not healthy. It's not physically healthy, it's not mentally healthy, it's not spiritually healthy. So I want you to go ahead, take some time to think about these questions, journal about them. Who knows, the answers might surprise you. Remember, you do have time for yourself. It doesn't have to be perfect or extravagant. It just has to be yours. When you pour into yourself, you're not only filling your cup, but you're also modeling what it means to live a balanced and joyful life for your family. And if this episode resonated with you, I would love if you could please share it with a fellow parent who might need to hear this message too. And don't forget, join us over on the Nature to Nurture Facebook community, where we're all about supporting and inspiring each other on this journey. And as always, I would be so grateful if you would rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast if you haven't already, because it really does help us to to reach more people like you. And we all know we need a shift in the collective. Thank you so much for listening, and until next time, go take care of yourself. You deserve it.